Hi, Lawrence. We're back,
Indeed.
and welcome everybody. And good to see you, Lawrence. It's Christmas over here, Christmas over there. If you celebrate that,
Well, I sort of go through the motions, but it's not really my cup of tea because everything grinds to a halt. I think they should just give everybody an extra week's holiday in the summer. Shut down in the summer when it's nice and warm, when it's freezing over here. But I suppose it's an excuse to just pig out for a few days. I can't hear you now. No. Where's the volume gone?
okay. So here we are again with more maps. Uh-oh, where'd you go, Lawrence? Technical difficulties starting right off the bat.
My sound.
Okay.
I lost the volume.
Does your sound okay? I turned it off for a second. Okay, here we are. Glitch free on Sunday, Christmas Day evening. And so here we are back again with more on maps. And I really don't even know how much we're going to get into this, but a week or so ago, I guess it was last Sunday already, we invited Jason, what's his last name? Offenberg from Awake Souls.
Yeah.
And Ronnie and John was on briefly to actually talk about simulation theory. And Jason took it upon himself with Ronnie to use his opportunity to show us a map idea that he was working on for Flat Earth, and that he is pretty certain that he's on it, that this is the map. Because by using this computer program, he would be able to put this map on a globe seamlessly. I think there was a little slit on there somewhere, but so we allowed time for him to do that. And usually if people don't kind of move along, I have a pretty short attention span. So if you're going to drag out a presentation, then you're probably going to get kind of cut off a little bit, because if you aren't ready, you're not prepared, you're wasting people's time, you're wasting our time, and you're also really making our podcast audio broadcast later pretty boring and slow. So during this presentation or this introduction of this map, yes, I am guilty as charged for sort of trying to move it along a little bit and direct the traffic. Okay. And which is my prerogative, considering it's my channel and it's our show, and we'd really like to keep the flow going. So we're often accused of being boring anyway, because we belabor topics. So that was one of the charges brought against us later. For the main reason is because after the broadcast was over, immediately Lawrence and we stick around for a few minutes after we stopped the broadcast and just chit chat about how the show went and other things. And both of us were like, kind of got that, wait a minute, that was Cammie's map on Globebusters. Why is this such a new map? And so both of us agreed immediately that we might have been punked a little bit with this use of our time and our show and our platform to introduce a map that we're going to show you shortly. Lawrence is going to explain why it's the same map that we've already poo-pooed. And, but second of all, then we removed, conferred with Lawrence, and we decided I'm just going to make this video private for now. I don't even know what the hell just happened. And after speaking with John also, he was in concurrence because he actually just dropped out of the show. He didn't want to have any part of this whole thing. He wanted to talk about simulation theory, which is the title of the show and what we asked Jason and Ronnie on for in the first place. Jason has taken it upon himself to not only go ahead and re-upload that broadcast because they screen captured or videoed it live themselves, and he has made another video that I'm banning Lori from my Flat Earth channel, which I'm feeling really bad now. I think I'll slit my wrists. And so, okay, you can make any videos you want, but in this video, he not only made it sound like, or actually lied, as far as I'm concerned, that that we saw all this prior to, and that this was all agreed on, and that I reached out to Ronnie to have him on the show, which was not true. I was speaking to Ronnie in a hangout prior, last week prior to Sunday's hangout. And he and I were talking about Jason and what happened. He wanted to tell me all about what happened to Jason on the Globebusters show, which I don't watch because I don't have 3 hours to waste. And so as it turns out, the whole thing got convoluted. None of their story is straight. And I don't even know how to set the record straight when somebody makes that many lies in one video. But the biggest lie of all is at the end of his I'm banning Lori from my channel video, he screen captures some of my video that he downloaded. And I'm talking with my hands, as I often do. And of course, he freeze frames it on my fingers. Well, here they are, people. These are my fingers, okay? And my fingers happen to be my ring finger longer than my index finger, which is now some urban myth that I'm a transvestite or a transgender or a trans something because I have these long fingers, okay? Now, Lawrence can hold his fingers up, and 2 of my fingers are actually probably longer than his fingers.
Yeah, so on that hand, my index finger and ring finger are about the same size.
Yeah, they
and
sure
are.
are.
On that hand, the ring finger is noticeably bigger than the index finger. So, talking about hands is rubbish because you just get all shapes and sizes, same with your toes.
So, so shame on you, Jason, for calling yourself a truther and not and falling for this urban bullshit with this finger length thing. I've been hearing it for probably a couple of years now. Some woman cop came out with a video several years ago that Michelle Obama was a man. And what's the tennis player, Lawrence?
Serena Williams. Well, both
Serena Williams is a man, and now a couple years later, everybody's a man. There's no women left in Hollywood that I can think of. Holy cow!
Yeah.
Donald Trump's wife is a man, and then
George Clooney's.
George Clooney's wife's a man, and
yeah.
Before you know it, I don't even know. What do we?
Jungle Surfers,
What do we say?
thinks everybody's a man.
What are women supposed to do now? Are we supposed to go around and carry pictures of our uterus from an MRI or something in our, or a ultrasound or something in our billfold, so then when we get questioned whether we're actually male or female, we can whip out our uterus picture? You know, because I mean, you can't just go and show someone your breasts, because anybody can buy breasts now. That's been that way for how long? I mean, any guy can go and buy breasts. Anybody can take hormones. So something's a little creepy up with this whole transgender influx of everybody now is suddenly transgender, and everybody's falling for this. I want to see some peer-reviewed study or multiples studies where someone has gone around and measured women's and men's fingers and compared them to their actual biological parts, okay? Because how else are you ever going to know again if you're talking to a man or a woman? I mean, is this a follow-up from the bathroom thing where, okay, now transgender people are allowed to go into, you know, men transgenders into women's bathrooms? And so I don't care. I don't care who goes into what bathroom, and I don't care what you want to be. If you want to be, if you're born a boy and you want to be a girl, be one. I don't care. And in that, I don't care, I'm gonna flip that back around. One thing I do care about is my credibility and my reputation. So the idea is to make me look like a phony, and to make me look like a liar, and to make me look like some transgender agent infiltrating the flat earth community with my lies and my gender lies. I don't know. Okay. But okay, I have a low voice. Everybody in my family has a low voice. Actually, everybody in my family has a low booming voice. My little sister's fingers are longer than mine, and her toes too. And she's a girl. I watched her be born. And so, you know, people need to get a grip on what's really important here, number one. And they also need to get a grip that calling someone who is nobody you know online on a public video, a male who is a female, and trying to allude that she's somehow a liar is actually actionable slander. Okay. And so I'm going to be brief, and I'm going to ask for an apology, a public apology from Jason, who purposefully intended to make it look like I'm a guy with the little circles around the fingers in his video, waving, you know, while he's talking, right? And whether you think you came right out and said it or whether you alluded to it, you know what your intention was, and so does everybody else. So ban me if you want. I couldn't care less, but I very much care that you start bullshit rumors that I'm a male, or that I'm a man, or that I'm a transgender person, and put that out there to try to harm my reputation and my credibility in the flat earth or the truth community. I'll be waiting for that, and we'll see what happens if that does not transpire, because I never said anything personally about you, Jason, at all, and I won't, and I don't need to, okay? We're all about the information and not about the people that are delivering the information, okay? So if the information is truth, then it's truth. If it's bullshit, attack the information and not the person. I thought everyone in the truth community knew about ad hominem attacks. Do not justify whether something is true or not. So that's all I'm going to say about that for starters. So I'm going to let you take off, Lawrence, on this supposed new map that isn't new at all?
Yeah, so Jason Awake Souls came on the show and he showed this map, and it was just strikingly similar to the one we've seen from Globebusters, Cammy's map, which most of the ones I've seen, they haven't actually put any land masses on. Put one on recently with some land masses, but Awake Souls showed some communication between himself and Bob from Globebusters. I don't know whether it was on the comment section of a video or whether it was a Skype call, but Bob put an image of a map saying this was Cammy's map, or it was the early version of it, and she'd been working on it since with tracing paper. So I can only assume she's tracing around the continents and trying to move them around a bit to make them fit. But that was the first time I'd actually seen something with all the continents on from Globebusters, and that in itself was a very close match to which Awake Souls says he thinks he's going to wrap around the globe and prove it's the flat Earth map using 3D modeling. So I've spent a bit of time taking a good look at that map, and it's flawed in so many ways that it's not going to work. So once more, I'm going to share a screen and we'll go through it step by step. Here we go. So here it is. So this is the map. Now let's just make it a bit larger so you can read. So this is effectively an off-the-shelf map that Bob said Cammy first came up with for one of her earlier versions, or the first versions. But in reality, this is a map that you can buy, and one that's actually, you can search for it on Google Images, and it's the Sinu mole-wide projection. Let's make it a bit bigger so we can read what it says. And it says an equal area fusion of the moleweed and sinusoidal projections. So anyway, let's make it a bit smaller so you can see it, bring it all into focus again. So when Bob came out in July, with his all singing and all dancing map, or his show the week before, saying it was all coming up next week, and then he got Insanity is Sanity to do this, the greatest thing since sliced bread is coming along on Sunday, don't miss the show, which obviously turned out into a big disappointment because there was no map.
At that time, Lawrence, weren't they calling it the heart-shaped map, and then they got off that name?
They were. Okay. But one of the things Bob did say when he was doing his trailer for their map show was that their new map would indeed have an ice wall. So here we have this map, which it may have been modified since, but presumably they're keeping a similar shape, with 2 south poles and 1 north pole. And obviously the lines of latitude and longitude are heavily distorted to what we believe that they are. And there are lots of problems with this. So if there is an ice wall, then presumably the ice wall goes, from each pole all around the edge back to the other. But big problem with that is that ice wall goes up around the Tropic of Capricorn and the equator, and the temperature there would be too high for ice. So, there could be no ice there unless it was some thermostatically controlled ice making machine to keep it frozen. But of course, the other problem is if any ships were sailing that way from east to west or west to east, they're going to bump into this ice wall. And this is, in places that are much higher latitudes, and nobody's ever seen this ice wall. So another, work of fiction like Mount Meru at the North Pole. So for that reason alone, that the map is a non-starter. And then you look at, the typical Santiago to Sydney route. Now, if you look at the scale at the bottom, I found out what it is, and I overtyped it. It's a scale of 1 to 40 million, which effectively makes the map 25,000 miles across. So 25,000 miles across, I measured this screen, then I measured Sydney to Santiago, and proportionately, that distance between those two is over 16,000 miles. So it's just as bad on this map as it is on the azimuthal equidistant or the Gleason map. It doesn't fit. And the other problem with the map is that with any map, unless you have Pac-Man no two places can be more than 12,500 miles apart, because that's what happens in reality. So let's just take a look at Google Earth, and we can actually demonstrate that. If I've got this working, I'll just have to go back into it again.
While he's looking at that, hi, John, and glad you could join us.
Hey, how's it going, Lori? How you doing, Lawrence? Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah. Hi, John. Merry Christmas, mate.
Have you seen this? Have you seen this map, John?
I have, yes, in some of my searches, but
it's called the Sinumoid map. It's a combination of the sinusoidal and the mollweed.
All right, so let's just go on the map. Let's find a place. Let's go back over to Sarasota, which is somewhere there, isn't it? All right, so let's go to Sarasota.
It's going to be one of the most well-known places on the map by the time you're done with it, Lawrence.
Yeah, well, there we go. So there's Sarasota. So I can just zoom out now and know where it is.
Okay.
I knew roughly where it was. Well, it'll leave a little.
Can you see me waving?
You zoom out. No.
You see me waving from the map?
If we zoom in far enough, we might catch you going down the street to get some groceries. Oh, oops. Okay, so we can see where it is there. Okay. So we're going to take a little trip, and we're just going to go to the west. So let's do a line. Okay, from the west, from there. Okay. And move it across. Okay. We'll go at 270 degrees, which is due west. If it keeps going. There we go. Keep it going. 5,000 miles. And you'll notice once we start getting close to 12,000 miles, that the line starts
trying to straighten your line up.
270. Yeah, 270. Here we go. Yeah. It's like Flight Simulator, isn't it? 11,300. Where's the line gone? So the line's flipped back over the other side now. He's trying to twist around the other way. And as you get close to 12, come on, get back over there.
Oh,
it's like one of these poles. Yeah. So you run 12,290 miles now. So when it gets close to 12,500 miles, it flips back the other way because it's quicker to go the other way around, because no two places on the globe are more than 12,500 miles. So you can see that 12,347, and it's very hard to get much higher, 12,416. And as you get closer to that 12.5, it starts trying to flick around the other way, because it's, double that distance around, and it would work out quicker to go the other way. So it'll immediately flick around the other side, assuming that was where you wanted to get to. So any map, we know the globe is a lie. And we know the globe distances are near as damn it correct, because we do fly to all these places, and the air times match the distances when you take into account air speeds. So any map that is presented to anybody as a representation of where we live, no two places can be more than 12,500 miles apart without Pac-Man. It's impossible without Pac-Man. Now you can see the map. Let me just come out of this and go back into what I just had. So you can look at this mollweed map, which I've adjusted. So not adjusted, but I've just.
While you have this all open, Lawrence, you might want to, while you have this all open, you might want to turn your camera off, because you're lagging just so slightly, for me anyway.
If I turn the camera off, won't it turn that off now?
No, just turn the camera off on you, and your screen will still be fine.
Okay.
Don't. Your camera on the Hangout.
All right.
And there we go.
Turn that off. Okay. So now let's go back to that. So, okay. So, yeah, so it's 25,000 miles across on this map. That's from the scale. You can go and check this out for yourself. It's a scale of 1 to 40 million, which works on that. You just work it out proportionally, and it works out 25,000 miles across. Obviously, for Bob, this would need an ice wall. unless he's changed his mind on that. I haven't heard anything to the contrary. But the ice wall would not work because it would melt in the warmer regions, and people would notice it when they were doing their cruises and flights. They would be observing this ice wall everywhere, and they don't. You just see some small pockets of things that resemble ice walls, but they may not be more than a few miles long. There's no evidence of a 70,000 mile ice wall or whatever the distance is around this version of flat Earth map that they've got. But if you look at the equator, sorry, go on.
Can you describe what you have drawn on to this map?
Yeah. So what I've done, we've got the green line, Tropic of Capricorn. Okay, so if you zoom in, you can find out the lines of longitude and latitude. So I've put the green line, which is Tropic of Capricorn, the red line, which is the equator, and the yellow line, which is the Tropic of Cancer. The other line, which forms an S shape, going from prime meridian it's the prime meridian, 0 degrees longitude, and it forms an S shape. Then it comes up straight through the middle, through London and the North Pole, and comes up round the other side down to the other pole. The interesting thing in dividing that up this way, is that you're going to have the west and the east, but these little bits around the top between the prime meridian and the edge of this map, that is still the west in terms of the lines of longitude, and this one over here is still east in terms of, so you've got east and west on both sides. But Bob has been intimating that the sun would form an oval shape, which is what they would need for this map. But when you start looking at the lines of longitude, we all know that on the equinox, the sun, maps out exactly along the equator. So when it goes from here in the east to here in the west, what does it do then? It needs Pac-Man to get back to the other side, does it not? And then you're looking at the summer solstice for the northern hemisphere with the Tropic of Cancer, and of course, the sun's following that route on this map. But hey, it comes to the edge of the map, and it's got to get all the way back to the other side. And then you've got the green line for the winter solstice, and again, gets over to this side, it's got to get round to the other. So that's not going to work unless they adopt Pac-Man. It's not going to work either because the distances are all wrong without Pac-Man. The distances are going to be better on this map by a long chalk compared to the AE map, but they're still wrong.
Right. Well, also, what have they done with Antarctica? I mean, it's on two different sides here. I guess if you put it around a globe, they would join back together, which is the premise that Jason is going on, is that once this grid of this map is put in Blender, you would be able to wrap it around a globe.
Yeah, I mean, if that was a piece of paper and you folded it, yeah.
That's the premise of his whole story.
Yeah, well, yeah.
The problem is that we don't live on a globe, and what we do live on is you can travel according to the grids of latitude and longitude. Places are where they say they are. These latitude and longitude lines are all skewed in every direction, up and down and sideways, and different longitude lines come into different places on this split pole, which I think is very interesting that there may be a psyop brewing about this particular map, because they just recently started talking about, from Antarctica and NASA, that Antarctica's due to split in half. And anyone can go and look at that on Google that. And that's sort of been in the news lately. So add all these things together, and the dots are connecting into, this is possibly a secondary psyop map-wise. And let me be the first to say it, because I'm already on the hot seat. And the idea of this supposedly being Cammie's map, and they're in their 7th version of it, and Cammie uses tracing paper to create this map with, so things can be moved around. Tracing off of what? I would like to know, because typically if you're drawing something for the first time, you're going to be doing a lot of erasing. And tracing paper is, unless you have a really soft rubber eraser, as an artist, I know that it's really difficult to erase on tracing paper and not burn a hole through it or rip it. So tracing paper is not really a good thing to be using unless you're tracing over your own pre-made map. So, you know, good luck to Cammie. Good luck to Jason. Good luck to anybody who wants to use their Blender with this off-the-shelf Sinew Mallweed map. But if this was a map of flat Earth, then the observable, testable, and repeatable results of both the sun, the moon, the travel, the distances, nothing works. John,
Yeah,
what do you think? What do you think about this map, John?
No mas. No mas.
No mas.
I don't like it. Ya tu sabe. If you didn't know, now you know. It's bunk. I mean, look at. You can wrap a lot of things around a sphere in Blender, but you know, okay, take that piece of paper that you just printed out and wrap it around a softball. Show us how that works, because I don't think it's going to work out that good. I don't think it works out too good in Blender. Everything just gets warped. I mean, well, basically, I don't see how this can fit around a perfect sphere. I mean, I don't. I mean, it's first of all, and the other thing, the other big problem I have with it is the equator line for the sun. How's the sun going to do a straight line when it's like doing that curve over the edge of the map, and then it curves back in? No.
Well, okay. I mean, we already investigated this map a long time ago. We investigated this map back in July, wasn't it, Lawrence, when it first came out, when it was first being talked about?
Well, we talked about the information that they've given us so far, you know, but it didn't have this much detail. But this isn't obviously not their map. It's just one that they've adopted, saying it was a magnetic map, but nowhere on that particular information. You can actually go and check out this company and buy it. They've got various.
Boy, everybody's lagging. Is it me or what's going on?
There we are. It's called the Future Mapping Company. So if you just go and
Future Mapping Company,
you can find out about this map and other maps, but it doesn't say anything about it being a map determined by the magnetic fields, which is what Globebusters are saying. That their map is all, you know, it's based on the magnetic fields above the Earth that determine where all the land masses are. How on earth you would determine that when you can't see the magnetic fields? It escapes me, you know.
Well, if I were going to bring in a new map to replace the busted AE map and Gleason map, boy, I think I would name my map company the Future Mapping Company. It's almost laughable. I'm sorry. It's just it's just too funny. The coincidence is not lost on me. Let me just say that. Okay.
Yeah, so the sun isn't going to work on that. They need Batman too far across, you know, busted flush.
Down the road we've been on.
I mean, in terms of the land masses, it's quite similar to the sinusoidal in some respects, but it's more distorted than that, and it's got
Lawrence,
two.
could I need to interrupt you. Lawrence, please. I need to interrupt. I have to shut some things down because your bandwidth is terrible and you're dragging really badly. So you need to close out some things. So John, Now that you're here, I'd like to see what you think about where's this person coming from, this Jason, where's he coming from to presume, to act like nobody but him is looking for the proper map of Earth, and there seems to be some conspiracy going on to try to prevent him from getting this out there? And why would he choose our program, our show, our hangout to introduce a map and model that we didn't ask him to introduce, other than, you know, Ronnie in the background prodding me, let him talk, he's got big stuff to show. Okay. Where's this, where do you think this is coming from?
I don't know. All I can say is, wow, you get into a thing with Globebusters, and then you get into a thing with Flat Earth conspiracy. Who's the problem? You know, like who really is the problem? What's really going on? I mean, like, are you gonna have a problem with everybody else you talk to? I don't know. At this point, I think it was a dick move to switch everything from simulation theory to hey, presenting this map and, you know, blah blah blah. Not to mention it was taken from somebody else, and it's just, sorry, pardon my French on Christmas Day, but it's a dick move. That's all I can say. I don't think there's anything new under the sun discovering maps. I think the more outlandish map that you're going to try and wrap around a sphere in Blender is it's just going to send people down the wrong path. So if anything, it was a subtle sad attempt to utilize two channels on the Flat Earth topic, two, you know, major channels on the Flat Earth community, that and infiltrate them and basically, I don't know. You see what happened with the video that was posted online. It's basically the hangout that we did, or you guys did. I bugged out, and it was retitled something, you know, for his own purposes. So I think that speaks to anything right there, everything. That's about all I got to say.
Well, I mean, I appreciate that, but let's take it one step further. Not just two Flat Earth channels. You know, Lawrence and I have been on for a year and a half. Globebusters, right about that, a little over a year. And we've been pitted against each other for quite some time, of that amount of time, based on that we don't have the same philosophy about what represents Flat Earth. And we challenged them a long time ago. Yes, we started it. We started it because we challenged them over their map or their use of the map, or calling the A.E. Gleason map the Flat Earth map. And we tried very hard to get other people to look at what we were doing and what we were talking about the nice guy way. And when we were made fun of, then that kind of takes the gloves off, so to speak. And once the gloves come off, I mean, I'm not going to back down, and neither is Lawrence. We had done an immense amount of work to go through all the maps that were available to us, all known maps. Lawrence looked at all of them. Lawrence did an amazing amount of work triangulating and going in time and date and looking at SunCalc and looking at flight routes and flight distances and flight times and lengths of days and nights, and relearning the entire globe system in order to tear it apart. That's the whole, you have to know your enemy. So so this resulted in a tit for tat, quid pro quo pissing match between Flat Earth Conspiracy and Globebusters, and so be it. Nobody's gotten hurt. You know, nobody's got any bruises or slash marks on their throats. No one's bled out. Okay. So it's really not that bad. I mean, we can't all think the same thing until we all know the truth. That's, we took our avenue to truth and they took theirs. Okay. But for Jason to go on their show, and then come on our show and then ultimately pit us against each other, where he comes out looking like getting off on the white horse. Hey, wait a minute, buddy. You're not any better than any of the other channels, and don't use the I'm a small channel gig to try to make it look like you're being bullied by the big channels. I mean, we got 6,800 subscribers. We appreciate every single one of them, but we're not considered a huge channel. Go look at the, you know, the big channels. Go look at Math Powerland or Eric Dubay or Jeranism and see how many subscribers they have and how many views they have on their videos. And you won't be thinking that we're big dogs anymore. So we appreciate anyone who takes the time to watch our videos and listen to our program, you know, our hangouts. Sorry, I keep using the word program, and you know, I'm trying to break myself of that because we call TV programming. And so the idea is that, you know, nobody's hurting you, Jason. Nobody's trying to hold you back. If you come up with the map of the earth, the true map of the earth, and you can wrap it around a globe, what have you done? I mean, actually, what have you done? What is there a Nobel for that? I mean, and if there is, okay, then we'll put ours up against it, because here's the catch, okay? Lawrence started with the diamond in what, February, Lawrence? And if since February, we have continued to tear apart the AE and the Gleason map, and since February, we have continued to build upon the diamond map, okay? And we've had a standing challenge since then. Anybody who wants to come forward and debunk our map and our model, a lot of model yet, except for what John's done, and it's been, you know, a work in progress. But anybody who can come in and debunk our map, bring it. We want you to. We encourage that. Well, guess what? Nobody has. Yet they're off running off on another map or another, you know, upland. Yet this map is still laying on the table like a big smelly fish, waiting for somebody to wrap it up and throw it in the bin. And no one's done that yet. So Lawrence, you're muted. So unmute yourself, because I'd like to ask you a question.
Oh, go on then, Laurie. Yeah, I'm back now.
Okay, so if this
Moleweed.
Malweed, why can't that just be
Moleweed.
Moleweed? That sounds even weirder. Okay, so if it has the same sorts of flaws as the AE and the Gleason or any map where the sun, I mean, this one's even weirder. Everybody was like, okay with it going in a circle. Now it's got to go, woo, woo, back over here, woo, and do that, okay? That's the first thing. The second thing is it doesn't satisfy any of the problems of the distances between places being wrong, okay? The distance from Sydney to Santiago, for example. And suddenly, there's a lot of mystery going on with this tip of South Africa, you know, like that just sort of hanging there with no ocean below it. You get to this tip of South Africa. Is it South Africa or is it?
Yeah, it's Africa.
Yeah, it's Africa. The tip is South Africa, and then all of a sudden you got to go, and you got to go out to the left or the right, like severely, to get to Antarctica, one coast or the other. So, how do you imagine this map working with the UTM, for example?
Yeah, well, it won't work at all. The UTM is effectively a diamond map when you factor in all the scales of the latitudes, because as you get away from the equator, north and south, they represent smaller distances. And they've got a separate scale for the polar region because they're obviously much smaller again. So it doesn't tie in with the UTM map whatsoever in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, so if the diamond map represents all of the distances between places, area, heights, widths, latitudes, longitudes, movement, moon, and yada yada. Why do we explain to me why we need to fit it on a globe?
I have no idea.
Anything.
Why would you want to fit it on the globe?
I mean, what will be benefited by fitting it on the globe? Because in my opinion, okay, we've said all along that the flat Earth realm represents the same observations that we find on a globe, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you've got a softball, the diamond map would be the easiest to wrap around a softball, but it probably wouldn't fully get all the way around, because I think the globe, which was obviously originally a flat map, when they made it, it would never fit the globe exactly, and they would have had to have some filler here and there.
Right, and the filler would be what, Lawrence? Water.
Probably ocean or remote places where nobody goes, like parts of Greenland and the surface area, maybe some parts of Antarctica. You know, the bits that Google blank out altogether and don't let you look, some of which are not in the Antarctic or Arctic regions, they're in other places. So why they would want to block them out, that would be maybe because they don't exist, well, certainly on the oceans. So yeah, why you'd want to wrap it around a globe, I have no idea. Nothing's going to fit perfectly around a globe, because as you wrap it around, you know, a flat piece of paper is not going to fit around a globe. It's going to have to be crumpled.
Well, let me interject this. Okay, we've been told recently that we don't live on a globe, actually, perfect globe. We live on this oblate spheroid, which is a little trick of the words to take out some area, right?
Pizza dough, yeah. It's the pizza
oblate. Oblate, squashed down.
It's getting kind of pear-shaped now, though, isn't it?
Pear-shaped, okay. When you take the area off of a pear versus the area off of a orange, versus that would be the same relative size, okay, you're going to get different area, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you know, we all know that you can't stretch carpet. You go in a room, you're given a certain amount of feet of carpet, and you are supposed to lay it in this room, and it's a little too short. You can move it over there, you can move it over here, you can cut this off and put it over there, but you can't stretch it. So the globe, the reason why we say it's important that the observations of whatever flat Earth map we come up with are the same observations as those on a globe. We never said, did we ever say? Maybe somebody could pull it out of an ancient video, but did we ever say that the map needs to fit on a globe, or that it needs to represent the observations of the globe?
Yeah, we didn't. We never said that.
Yeah.
Just going off at a tangent at the moment, because John's here now. there's something I wanted to run past John and get his comments on this. So just let me grab the screen share again.
Oh boy.
And
Here
go
we
back
go.
to Global Earth, Google Earth, should I say? Okay, so let's find North America because we've got mostly an American audience. Where's that? Africa, South America, North America. Here we go. Let's just straighten it up. Let's get north back up to the north. There we go. So we've got north back at the top. So, and obviously Google Earth claims to be accurate, but let's just do a little example and try and complete a 1,000 mile square in the center of the United States. We've got no states on here at the moment. You have to go in further to do that. But so we'll do a square and see what ends up. So I might be out a couple of miles, but I'm going to start off somewhere over here and go at 270 degrees, which is west, and then go south, and then go east, and then go north. And we should end up back where we start, but let's see what happens. So it's going to let me go. Oops, line. Here we go. So we'll start there.
This is an interesting exercise.
So if you can
Oops.
see there, the heading 270. So if you want to go west, it's slightly south of west. 270. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Look, west is down that way. All right, so that's west. 271. Let's take it back to 1,000 miles. 1153, 1090, 1045, 1025, 1017, 998. That's near as damn it. And 272. Let's try and get that down to 270. Come on, 271. 269 and 1,002. So let's click on that. So we're going to save that. So we've got 1,000 miles or 1,002 miles, and the heading's 269.98, which is supposedly heading west. But looking at that, it's going, it's more like south.
Well, that's because of that tilt
south.
of the Earth, Lawrence.
Oh,
they got to put that 23.4 degree tilt in there. So
all right. Now we've still got north at the top. So now we're going to go 1,000 miles to the south from this point here. Line measure. I've got to give it a name. Okay.
south.
QWERTY. Okay. Right, and then we'll do another one. We'll go 1,000 miles to the south on another line. So nearest damn it, that's about through in the crosshairs. Oops, sorry. I'll click on it again. .230. So we want to go 180 degrees. No, that's 180 degrees.
There you go. You're close.
80 degrees, 1,003 miles. So that's supposedly going south, but it's going east of south. So let's just save that. Just make any old rubbish up that to give it a name, so it'll let me keep it. Okay, and then from that angle, we're going to go east for 1,000 miles. So that's going at 90 degrees. So that's heading north of east. 994. On 90 degrees. 91. 1,001. 993. 1,001 miles and 90.9. That's near as damn it. Okay. So, and we'll save that. And we'll call that any old number. Okay. So what you've got left is this gap between there and there. So how far is it going to take to get back to your starting point? Well, if you went 1,000 miles due north from there, let's see where that takes us. So let's get to that point there in the crosshairs. Okay. And of course, we want 0 or 360 degrees here. So 12, there we go. $1,100. course, when you make these things bigger, you do get more accurate. You know, you can. It doesn't move along so quickly. 1007. 1005, 359.
You need it a little bit longer, Lawrence, just to make sure that you're close to 1,000. There you go.
It's just over 1,000, so let's save that. All right. Okay, so it doesn't take you back where you started from. Let's see how far it is between those 2 points. Just going over 1,000 miles, and it's a distance off, so we can just draw the straight distance there. That's all right. There you go. It's 1,289 miles, so you're going to be out quite a bit. So you're not going to end up back where you started from. 1,000 miles to the west, 1,000 miles to the south, 1,000 miles to the east, 1,000 miles north on there. Don't take you back to where you commenced the journey from. So obviously, if you did smaller squares, the amount of deviation will be less, but they're not going to end up back where you started from. So there's obviously something wrong there, isn't there? So, you know, if you're going west or, you know, in a straight line, yeah, if you followed the lines of latitude, then that would be another interesting story, wouldn't it, to see where they are. I'm not going to do that.
Well, obviously, you end up with a rhomboid kind of thing.
You're going to get some kind of curve shape, yeah.
John, what do you think about the fact that the distances aren't the same? I have my theory. What is yours?
Well, we did a lot of this in Boy Scouts. We did a lot of orienteering where we had to map out a course, and we had to, you know, basically do that whole square and come back to where we were. And invariably, it never worked, to be honest. I mean, like, it was maybe close within, you know, like a field. I mean, this is a great distance, but it's something to do perhaps with the fact that we're dealing with a globe. Sorry, am I on? Okay. We're dealing with a globe, and also I don't know how well Google handles, let's say, a true north compass reading. I mean, they're just giving north to the tip of the north of, you know, north on a Google globe, and that's something I think that can only be plotted using magnetics. But even then, you get you know, that declination of a few degrees. So it's an interesting exercise. I don't know. The smaller squares probably are still going to be a little, yeah, they're probably going to be more accurate, but what was the last shot there? It was about 9 degrees off from north, and it almost 10 degrees off, and it was what, 1,289 miles. So that's, you know, yeah.
Doesn't it kind of describe the fact that the lines of latitude, the farther you get from the equator, are narrower than the lines at the than the equator? And probably, if you did that exercise, it would be that way on a globe, and it would be that way on a diamond. In other words, the distance around the globe is the widest at the equator, right? And so as you get toward the top, which we're in North America in his exercise, so if we did the same thing below, the lines of latitude are shorter. For the same distance, you would appear to go farther. The farther north you were, 1,000 miles farther north is going to give you a greater line than 1,000 miles south of there. It's going to give you a slightly shorter line, which is why you're going to get that sort of rhomboid thing going on, right?
Yeah, on a globe, correct.
On a globe.
On a globe.
But guess what? It would do the same thing on the diamond.
Yeah.
Two are short on the diamond than they are at higher numbers, and then it is at 0.
It would be interesting to do that little experiment with the lines on the diamond map, plotting it out, going north, and then you're going west, and then, yeah, well, we'd have to have something with accuracy.
Well, the The idea was he went 1,000 miles directly west to start with, then 1,000 miles directly south, then east, then back north, according to the globe north pointer, which it's not a straight line. It's going to be slightly curved as it comes in, but it curved in a lot, not a lot, but enough that you wouldn't hit your mark when you came back straight up north to where you started. So that to me says that 1,000 miles on a shorter latitude or a higher latitude number is going to look longer than the same 1,000 miles lower number. So I think we need to go through and do the same kind of thing, starting at closer to the equator and go south and then go north from there and then go completely farther south and see if that, that could be just like a goofball theory that I see in my head, but there is a correlation to the fact that it changes. Lawrence, you're muted.
The distortion gets even more so as you get closer to the poles. So if you went up to Greenland and tried the 1,000-mile exercise again, well, let's do it since we're here. Let's just see how much more distorted it gets once you get up to somewhere like Greenland. So let's find Greenland. There we are. So let's get that back to north so we know where we're at. There we go. So there's Greenland. So if we just went 1,000 miles north, 1,000 miles south, then east, north, and west.
Are they shrinking Greenland?
I don't think so. There we go. So let's start nuke somewhere around about here. Let's go. Let's do 1,000. 1,000 miles south. Your favorite
nuke.
Nuke. Well, yeah, I know. Well, oh, come on.
Yeah. See how that red square follows the diamond map over there, John? The red line that doesn't match up.
I can't see the image. It's in the bottom.
Oh, that's on you're on a phone, aren't you?
No, I'm on the computer. Oh, wait a minute.
Oh.
Wait a minute. Oh, okay. Oh, sure. Yeah. Oh, now I see it. Okay.
Okay. Now that he's moved the orientation of the globe from looking straight on it to looking over there.
So I've got 997.6 miles, 180.78 degrees. So I'll freeze it on that.
Okay. All right. And that's straight south.
That's supposedly south from there. Yeah. Yeah. So let's save that. Make some doobie name out. So let's save that. And then we're going to go to the east, another 1,000 miles. Let's do the crosshairs round about there. So we want to be going at 90 degrees. 1,027, 1,004, 1,003, 93.
Bingo.
Hang on. 89, 969, 1,004 and 89 degrees. That will do for that. So let's save that. Okay. And then we've got 1,000 miles north from where that one ended up. So that's going to be a bearing of like 0 degrees.
Keep bringing her in there, Lawrence.
Yeah.
Get close.
Yeah, it's like landing
It's like landing on a runway with no ground lights.
Yeah. 11, 12, 1150. 1028, 10.9. There we go. 1,000 miles, 354. So let's get that to 360. 359. All right, we're only on 884, so I'll go extend that to 1,000. 1,003, 1.3.
Well, this is kind of
359, 997.6, 359.
Freeze
Okay,
frame.
let's freeze that. Let's save that. We'll call that.
This is tricky.
Right. So okay. So that's that. And then we're going to go 1,000 miles east from there and see where that takes us. So that's going to be 270 degrees. $822.
Uh-huh.
1,001, 274.
What do you think about that?
1,009, 999 and 270. That'll do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Make a square on a globe.
So, that's even more distorted because it's further north.
Mm-hmm.
They're like going at 40. Well, it's forming in a square, but it's got the square in the wrong place. It's got the points at the top rather than at the edges. It's
Yeah,
making a
but
diamond.
the whole point is that
it's making a diamond shape, isn't it? More or less.
yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And if you go even further north, you're going to get more or less a perfect diamond when you're marking the distances. So, what the significance of that is, I don't know. But obviously north. If you look at the top right-hand corner here, you've still got north pointing up that way, but on here, north is going that way.
Mm-hmm.
That direction,
Mm-hmm.
which is like, more like northwest.
Very
So,
interesting.
I don't know what to make of that, but it's worth people actually playing around with it.
That's just something we need to hold in our heads for a while, just to kind of figure out what that ultimately is going to end up meaning, because not really sure at this point, but it makes sense that if the globe is narrower at the top than it is at the bottom, there on a circle is pretty close to impossible. But the idea is that on the diamond, we need to do that exercise next on the diamond map and see what happens.
But the only place it actually works, interestingly enough, is on the equator. So on there, the distortion is negligible. So if you go to the east or the west on the equator, you get a proper east-west lines, and all the other lines of latitude have deviation. So the only accurate place on the globe is the east-west line of the equator, and also the north-south line on the prime meridian.
So how do you think that would work on the sinusoid map, Lawrence?
I've no idea. You'd have to get some kind of software on that to see how. But if you're talking about a flat map, then a straight line should be a straight line. But nowhere on Google Earth. I mean, if you go back and look at the equator, just to prove the point. There we go. Share once again. All right, back on what's it again. Let's find the equator. It's somewhere. I'll zoom in. Let's type in Quito, which is nearly at the equator. Search.
Look at all that. Look at all that water that's nothing in it. I mean, nothing.
There's Quito. Let's just zoom out so we can see where it is in context and not spend all day trying to go anywhere. So there's Quito.
And it is on the equator.
All right, it's 0 degrees. So if you were there and you traveled 1,000 miles to the west, let's see what that does.
It's too bad you can't tell that thing to snap to 1,000. I'm sure there's probably a way. Well, hey, look at there. We're out in the Galapagos.
Oops, gone too far. Come on. The Earth is spinning.
Well, you've got it zoomed out too far. I mean,
Hey,
zoomed in too far. Holy cow. The Earth is spinning away from you, Lawrence. You've lost control.
Yeah, something's happening. Hang on. All right. Let me go back.
Your
I wonder what's
simulation, got the best of you. It wants
I
to
don't know why I did
spin.
that. I'll go the other direction because that thing's
All
in the
right,
way.
but regardless, you need to zoom out because you're not going to get, we're not going to be able, you're not going to be able to hold that line for 1,000 miles doing it that way, I don't think.
Oh, it's hard. Yeah. Okay. Let's zoom out. There we go. That's what. So there's keto. So, oops. Let me just cancel that. Right. So there's the little dot there. So we'll start again, and we'll go 1,000 miles to the east. Oops. 1,000 miles to the east at a bearing of 90 degrees. Why isn't it doing it? There we go. 90 degrees.
So John's doing that.
Sorry, hang on. Let me just.
It's all right. You just keep going, and we'll watch you perform the task.
90
And
degrees. All right. So you look at that at 90 degrees. That is going to be a perfectly straight line.
that's not 1,000 miles. Wow, it is.
So the distortion here is going to be minimal. 1001, 89.98. Let's lock that one in and save that. Okay, line measure 342. And then we go 1,000 miles south. There will be some distortion, but it should get quite close to where we're starting from because this is the only accurate part of the map. So we're going to be going at a bearing of 180. And it's still pretty accurate. There we are. $174. It's got a bit of a curve on it.
Yeah, that's, you need to swing it out there. Yeah, there you go.
180 and 996, that'll do.
Okay.
Let's save that. And then we'll go 1,000 miles to the west from where that took us. Okay. 270 degrees. It's a lot easier to stay on your bearings on this one. 1004, 270, that'll do. Save that, and let's see how far it is to get back to where we started from. Draw the line between the two. It's going to be 951 miles, so it's as near as damn it to a square. Obviously, if you did something in 100-mile square there, then it's probably going to be within a mile. But that's looks, it's slightly distorted, but you can see that the closer you get to the equator, the more accurate the measurements become and the less distortion there is with the compass. So if you're going east or west at the equator with your compass, you're going to be following the lines of latitude. But as you move further north or south, your compass is not going to follow the line of latitude. It's going to deviate depending on which hemisphere you are and which direction you want it to go.
All right.
So there you have some new information.
Thank you, Lawrence. So John, in your working with the diamond map over the last several months, doing different I don't know what I'm going to call it, manipulations or testing different observations and comparing things like the Mercator to it or time and date or any of the other various things. Have you found any glaring or even kind of, hey, kind of thing that says, this is not comparing to any of the information that I'm getting off of any of these information sites?
No, nothing glaring. Everything seems to be just fine to me. I think it mostly has to do with the straight line path of the sun at the equator and through the successive latitudes, north and south. That's pretty much, that was the clincher for me then. It's still the clincher for me now. I look at other models and I'm going, no, nothing else satisfies that, let's say, I want to say triangulation, but the fact, you know, that the mileage, the triangulation is something that I don't know if I've ever even looked into, but triangulating points on a diamond map. But no, nothing, nothing glaring. If anything,
I mean, I know you well enough by now to say, if you found something, you would definitely.
I haven't found anything that's discouraged. Yeah, nothing's really discouraged me. Yeah, if anything, I'm in the process of taking other clips of weather patterns and plane routes, like we spoke of, and earthquake map and how they hit.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and also the other one that that I just sent a link for with that what was it? Who's it? BP did it. Dutch Sense did it. The microwave burst this past Sunday.
Microwave burst. Let's talk about that for a
second.
Okay.
That was interesting.
Okay, so supposedly this microwave burst from the sun, like blasted Earth to the degree that the readings say that it hit on both sides of the Earth at the same time. I find that fascinating, since that can't really happen, since only one side of the Earth is facing the sun at any one given time on a ball. But considering that the pattern that he showed, the Dutch Sense showed, obviously was on a Mercator type map. He said that it was on a rectangular map versus, you know, showing it on the globe. He usually shows his earthquakes. He's not a flat earther. He usually shows his earthquakes. She's shaking your head no. No, he's not. You know, on the globe and showing the magnitude of them coming out from every direction from the globe. And so, but on this particular screen, he was showing this microwave blast from sunspots, or what else is it called? Sunspots, right? I mean, I get that there's another term for it. It was like all down through, make the noise at home. It was all at these like weird angles and everything on this Mercator, but they were happening pretty simultaneously, which can't happen if you wrap that puppy around the globe. So what does that say? It screams flat Earth to me. I can't believe, of all the things that Dutch Sense could look at finally, that would have to slap him upside his head, that, hello, how can that happen on a globe? So what was your takeoff on it?
Yeah, you know, actually, that was funny, because I didn't even notice it until you said it on the same. I'm like, yeah, that's right. It's right there. He said it in his words. You know, I mean, how does that happen? There's only
that's one of those
way.
aha moments when you go, did you actually even just listen to what you just said, and that didn't, like, you know, shock you in any way?
And it was an occurring event, because there were blasts of radiation in line with successive blasts of no data readings, and this was
okay.
Yeah.
So now let's bring up what happened at that exact time, which made you go looking for what the hell happened. Why we couldn't get on SunCalc? None of us. That Monday, was it Monday or Sunday show?
Sunday.
When was that?
Sunday.
Okay, on Sunday's show, You tried, Lawrence tried, I tried. No, but none of us could open SunCalc. And that happened to be at the same time that this was occurring. So the theory came true. It wasn't one of those, oh, they're screwing with us, moments where we're so important to the truth of the world that the New World Order is keeping us from going on SunCal today. Oh, God. So Lawrence, you need to go check into that? Did you check into that after? Did John sent you the link to that too, right? You're muted. Good boy, but you need to unmute.
Yeah, I did take a look at it, and I'm not sure how some kind of outage would affect individual websites. Maybe the server is from SunCalc is based at some place that was affected. That's the only.
Or they chose to shut it down on purpose in case it could be negatively affected by a surge of some kind, right? Yeah. Isn't that what an EMP does?
Yeah.
It shuts down everything. So, and damages the computers like forever. I mean, isn't that what an EMP does? So just something to note for like, what was that? And, we know that we don't live next to and following through the universe a flaming ball of plasma. So what the hell was that? If it wasn't a sun flare thing, then it was something else. But it was, and was it even related to the sun? Do we even know that for a fact, or is that just what they tell us? What the hell are sun flares if they're not flares coming off of a giant flaming nuclear bomb? Okay, so.
Well, that's the thing is, I don't believe there were any recorded flares. If there was any flare outbursts, I haven't seen any videos from the Sky Watchers. The only thing I saw was from, like I said, BP Earthwatch. He sort of showed the same Mercator, activity of the microwave bursts like Dutch showed. He's a couple days later, but he also, I've seen him go into the other SOHO, or not SOHO, there's a satellite that tracks the particles that go around the magnetic field of the globe, Earth, whatever. And he was looking at the SOHO cam. He was also checking the other graphs, and there was really no activity in front of the Earth facing the sun, except the fact that there was a large buildup of photon activity, I think he said, on the opposite side of the Earth, and this was away from the Earth. Now, this is in the globe view, but the one thing that he did show that was uncanny was the SOHO view of the sun was showing like a field surrounding the sun, sort of low, I think lower to the sun, where the stars were obscured, and it sort of was obscuring them, and it's then sort of dissipated after a while. But he said it was a curious thing, and now there were no real flares coming off the sun. That's the interesting part.
What about, this is where I jump on over to simulation theory. And so, for example, they wanted to simulate, to those who are looking and watching and recording, a UFO, a giant Borg cube UFO, I don't know, or Nibiru kind of thing, some other planet making disturbance. God, I mean, I don't know, but I don't know. I mean, I would think that if God, the creator, came and just kind of went, pay attention, there would be residual from that. Okay. And so, yeah, my mind goes in crazy places sometimes. But at the same time, if you think about simulation with regards to this, then I'm sure there's something written somewhere that something like that is going to happen in the future before something else happens, some revelationary type prophecy thing. Okay. So, or something was getting our attention, or we caused it ourselves and we're blaming it on something else. Okay. Now that's always a possibility, that our goobers in space are doing something weird up there with their sun simulator or their other toys they've been playing in their secret space program, and caused a glitch of some kind, or whether it was accidental or on purpose.
Yeah, the sun simulators. I have a I don't want to say I have a problem with the sun simulator idea. I mean, the patent exists. It's evident. It's marvelous technology. It's great. Is it working? We don't know. It could be. But to simulate a sun, I don't know. I sort of have issues with the fact that it's so tiny in comparison to what we've been told how large the sun is. To blanket it out and then to shine it in a different area to make it look like it's so, I don't know. I have issues with the whole idea of a sun simulator.
Well, if the sun, flat Earth community, what is the size of the sun? How high and how wide is it supposed to be?
That's true. That's true.
It's only supposed to be 32 miles wide.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And the higher you go, yeah.
Okay. 32 miles wide is big, right? But relative to the scale of the distance away that it is, okay, if it's closer, it can be smaller, correct?
Right.
Relative to distance. So it's a perspective thing you learn in art class, about how far is how big. And then if you want it closer to scale, you've got to actually make a scale. Okay.
But the sun simulators could maybe, is there a possibility that they have, can they make microwave bursts? Can a whole fleet of sun simulators pump out some sort of...
What about HARP bouncing off of the ionosphere, whatever they call it, okay? So, which is supposedly how radio works. So, the smarter you get, the more stuff you learn, the dumber you get, because then you can just start going, this could be that could be this. And then someone outside of all of it, listening to it, just goes, are these the dumbest rocks on the whole earth, these people? Because, they're just going to turn around and describe to you what the scientific story is. Okay, so today I happened upon a channel, and I was listening to a couple of short videos that this guy made, and I'm not gonna shout out, because until I actually speak to him and have some conversation, I don't know who he is or anything about him, so I'm not going to send people there yet. But then I will, if after I talk to him, and I may invite him to come on and hang out with us. And so he's a simulation flat earther, and his idea is that if we're in a simulation, then, for example, if your simulation is that you live on a globe, then that's what you believe, okay? And then this person's simulation is they're a flat earther. All right. Now, you used to be a glober, but now they flipped you from a 0 to a 1, and now you're a flat earther, or vice versa. And there's nothing this person's going to say to this person because their code says what they believe. All right. I kind of can go with that because, there's like Dutch sense, for example, if that would be an aha moment for me of all moments, that it's the same thing where, how can people on two different sides of the earth see the moon at the same time? Okay. Because if you see it over here in the daylight and they see it over here in the nightlight, how can that be? I mean, because it's not up here, it's there and straight over your head, and it's straight over your head. Okay, so it can't be here. So this would be an aha moment for me. So this idea that, you're trying to talk to a globe believer who has had no aha moments whatsoever about anything, except that you're now trying to tell them that you're a flat earther and they should be one too. It is not going to happen until they're laying there in the night, sleeping and snoring with their mouth open, and the fairy comes over and drops a red pill in their mouth, and they wake up tomorrow morning awake, like that. What do you think, Lawrence?
Yeah, well, I was just going to go off at a tangent, Laurie.
Go.
I mean, sometimes you get these thoughts in your head, and you start looking at something that, because we're out. Part of our remit is, if we had a remit, it would be to seek out the truth and point out those that are putting out misleading information. So I'm just going to play a very short clip. It's only 2 minutes. So it's entertainment anyway.
Okay, well, here goes a copyright strike is all I'm going to tell you.
We won't get a copyright on this, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, you go right ahead, knock yourself out.
Mind you, it won't play on mine. You have to play it on yours, Laurie.
My name.
I'll put it in chat and you can play it, and then I can talk to you about it. There we go.
Okay, so does it have sound or it doesn't matter?
No, we need the sound. It's all about the sound.
All right, well, put it in the chat so I can.
That's the wrong. I don't know why that came up like that. I've no idea. Let me just get the one I want.
All right, well, send it to me. Send it to me in the chat, and I will play it.
Just a minute.
So, oops. So, John, what do you think about what I said about the simulation? I know you're not a simulation person, but
you know what? Just like God, the ideas of God and everything. I have my own ideas of simulation, and I really sincerely am thinking about that whole conversation on the comments about the pineal gland, because that's sort of the seat between the in and out, or the in and out of information that we retrieve from our realm as opposed to how we see our realm. And I'm just curious about, is there a filter? Can we dial the filter in to see more? Does it change? Will it change our perspective? I guess through drugs, but the pineal gland, if I'm going to go simulation, I'm going to go to like the horse's mouth, and
okay.
That's So I'm going to investigate is all I'm going to say.
Okay, well, and that's all you should do. I mean, whether initially I thought flat Earth was insane. And by the way, Lawrence, I am no way playing that clip. No, that's totally so copyright that forget about it. So okay. You can say whatever you want to say with regards to it. You don't need to play that. You can say it anyway if you want.
Yeah, well, I was going to play the clip of Hal the computer when the guy was asking him to open the pod doors, and Hal the computer was rebelling, so to speak. So there is a connection there with the simulation theory that back in the 1960s they were thinking that computers could think for themselves, which is sort of one stage away from a simulated world.
Well,
but
that's
the
right.
thing,
There's a
you know,
difference between singularity and AI. AI and singularity is when AI reaches thinking
yeah. But the other thing
for
was,
itself.
you know, I'm sure there's some of these YouTubers out there, the ones that don't show their face. They may well be, they may well be putting out YouTubes. And then altering the speed of their voice to disguise who they really are, because I'm pretty sure that quite a lot of this crew out here are actually actors, and they're paid to do these channels, and they may run several of them. But
John.
Got my eyes on
and
you.
it's like, you know, I heard a certain individual who shall remain nameless because I'm sure he's very sensitive to that sort of thing. But I said to you, I said, you know, that guy, he sounds just like Hal.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
said, well,
actually,
when you
he
said
did.
that, and I said,
Actually,
slow
he
his voice
does.
down, just slow his voice down to half speed.
Well, there's a whole
And it was just
there's
like,
a whole bunch. There's a whole
oh.
bunch of YouTubers out there who do not show their face, and you just hear their voice, or they may show, you know, them walking around with a camera, looking out, you know, so you don't see their face, but you, in your mind, you think you saw them, but you actually saw what they were seeing through their camera out. And yes, there's all kinds of voice simulation software or apps that you can buy for your computer or for your phone that disguises your voice. I mean, back in the day when you had the scary movies where the psycho killer talked through a thing and made their voice sound like this, then, you know, that was enough of a disguise where you couldn't actually really recognize the voice. But now we have voice recognition software that can speed it up and slow it down, the actual voice that, you know, someone's disguising. So now you can take the mask off of the disguising software and figure out what their voice really sounds like. I did see a video a couple days ago of software that these guys have made. I've seen it several years ago, but they've really perfected it a lot, to where before it took tens of thousands of dollars worth of programming software, hardware, whatever, to have me talking somebody, and then the animal or the other person video is making the same lip movements and head movements and emotional, you know, movements. And so they have that in the movies, obviously, because we have like Gollum or Smeagol, okay, who was a guy actor, and they put him in a suit with all of these motion contact points on the suit that the camera picked up that emulated it to the CGI character, their movements. And so then his voice was the Smeagol's voice and so on. And so now they have apps you can download. You probably have to buy them. I don't think it's free yet, but they have apps that I've seen videos of George Bush talking, saying weird shit, because they're animating that face. All you have to have is maybe, I think, 4 different facial expressions from the real person, like a smile, a frown, you know, maybe a head turn with an eye like that or something. And the computer makes up for the rest of it. So, yeah. So we have no idea who we're dealing with out there in Flat Earth land or Truth land or YouTube land at all. And the fact that Lawrence and John and I and pretty much everyone who's ever been on this hangout makes the effort as best they can to show their face. And otherwise, how would you have known I wasn't a man, right? And so,
Yeah, you wouldn't know that I wasn't a cross-dresser.
yeah, you wouldn't have known that either. Thank you, Lee Bracker. May you rest in peace.
I'm sorry, but those are sad tactics, really. If you're gonna,
well, of course they're sad.
So
of course
sad.
They're sad.
So sad.
Yeah. I mean, attack my information, attack, what I'm putting out there, but to attack and do ad hominem attacks and attack a person personally is kind of the lowest in truth or tech. Okay. So, but regardless, I think it's funny, but I don't think it's funny enough to forget about it. So, that day will come, and it's at the point now where people in the flat earth community and people in the truth community are falling for the troller tactics. They've been trolled so many damn times with methods like ad hominem attacks, memes, making fun, pointing flaws, bullying, and so on, that flat earthers and truthers are actually starting to do that to other people, to each other, and to other people. So I can't say that we've ever done that. I know we've attacked people's information, and I know we've made fun of people's information, but we have never attacked the people themselves. And so, that's a little bit of an integrity thing I'm going to try to hold on to, despite the fact that, none of us expect everyone to like us. None of us on earth expect everyone to like us, or even most people to like us, unless we're kind of sappy on purpose. And even those people like Ned the neighbor on The Simpsons, I mean, you just really want to punch him right in the throat, right? And so the really, really, truly sappy people, you're just like, back. But for the most part, most people are genuinely pretty nice. I mean, there's some serious buttheads, all the way to like real-time assholes like that Philip Stallings guy that's on Facebook, who calls himself a Christian flat earther, and yet he literally stalks every woman in the flat earth, stalks them to the point of, sexual harassment times 10. And then when they don't bite, he tries to humiliate them, and so on and so forth. So shout out to the biggest prick flat earther there is, Philip Stallings. And but it's supposed to be about the information. So if you do not like the sound of my voice, listen to me in closed caption. If you do not like the way John combs his hair, just download the podcast so you don't have to look at any of us. All right. If you don't like Lawrence because he's not cross-dressing, and he ought to be, too bad for you, because he's not gonna. Okay. And so, but we're doing one thing. This is all we're doing. We're doing this one thing. We meet up once a week or so to discuss our findings and talk to each other and share with each other about flat earth stuff, phenomenon, maps, models, things we found, observations, new toys, whatever. That's what we do. Okay. We're not here to entertain. We're not here to, which is why that when Jason was on, and I thought, really, how dare you come on with our listeners and our audience with this first time you ever look like you ever got in the Blender program, okay, and didn't know what you were doing, And if you were actually going to be taken serious and make a proper presentation, why didn't you go ahead of time and make a PowerPoint presentation so that the rest of us didn't have to sit through the waiting for paint to dry, you know, you trying to take this map thing. And I mean, Lawrence just did that on this show tonight, okay? And you heard me trying to interrupt and talk instead of waiting for him to draw lines between places. That's a waiting for paint to dry moment, okay? And I try very hard not to have those, as does Lawrence. We usually try these things before so we know what we're doing. But anyway, the flat earth community, as it's become known, is not a community at all, in my opinion. It's a whole bunch of people who have a common belief system about like this one thing, okay? It's like lining up 3,000 people, okay? And all these people are here by choice because they said they were flat earthers, okay? But nothing else about them has any similarity whatsoever. You got tall people, short people, white people, black people, red people, green people, people with dressed up nice, people dressed in, you know, jeans, all the way. You've got people who are left wing, right wing, every kind of politics, every kind of religion. But the one thing they have in common is they think the earth is flat. How is that going to make a community? Because you usually got to have more than just like that one thing, right? So inside this community of all these people, all these diverse people, you've got that many different beliefs about what the flat earth means to them, which is why we're investigating things like simulation theory or the giant tree thing or any of the other things that we've dabbled in and talked about and been made fun of or whatever. The tree thing probably wouldn't ever have happened if it hadn't been for Lawrence stumbling upon a video that had 4 views on it. And we talked about it and threw it up here and started talking about it. And suddenly everybody's talking about it. So if anybody made that go viral, the crossdresser did it. The crossdresser did it. So, oh my God. I feel like I'm talking I feel like I'm talking kindergarten level intelligence here. So sorry.
Yeah, but even a kindergarten, even a 6-year-old would be like, no, clearly that guy's trying something. These people are just trying to talk about something. Shut up over there. I mean, a 6th grader knows the rules. Or 6-year-old, whatever. Either way.
Well, and you know, on that, I have kind of a thing about what I think is a friend. Okay, to me, a friend is not somebody that has just a common belief system that, as I do, because they could just turn around and be a psycho killer and stab you in the back. So to me, a friend is an earned position over time. And as time goes by, you both sort of do little tests with one another, and you might tell a secret or something that you haven't, you don't just generally go out and tell people in public, maybe just to share a childhood thing or something that happened to you or divorce or whatever it might be. And then there's also that thing about a friend having your back. Okay. In my world, if someone is my friend and someone bullies them or attacks them or calls them names or whatever, I'll throw down with you. I mean, I'm there. I'm your friend. I got your 6. Okay. And I'm not going to let somebody get beat up or bullied around or whatever, who's my friend, if I can do anything about it. And I mean, I learned that in 6th grade, before 6th grade. Okay. And so when I call someone a friend, you know, it means more than an acquaintance. We're beyond the acquaintance status. So, for example, I have never actually touched Lawrence, never shook hands, never gave him a hug, never seen his face in real time. But I would consider him one of my best friends because I know that I can trust him. I know that if somebody said something bad about me, he would, you know, I don't expect him to retaliate, but I expect him to defend me. Okay. And I would do the same for him. So in that whole episode that happened, I felt like a friend, that somebody I kind of thought I had a lot of hours, logged a lot of hours of conversation with, Ronnie, would have our best interest at heart for all the hours that we had invested in communication, the map and model work, the sun, moon, and stars work. We did the motions of the sun, of the stars together thing. You know, he taught me things, I taught him things. I thought we were sort of copacetic with that. And so I definitely had my feelings hurt, not by Jason, because Jason I don't know and I don't have any reason to trust him. But for somebody like Ronnie, who had been on our show, who had been with us several times, and we'd had lots of side conversations with, for him to bring Jason, and whether or not he ever saw this map before in his life, the minute he saw it, he was on the episode with Lawrence and I when we talked about debunking Cammie's map. He was on that episode. It was called Mythbusters. You can go and look it up. And Event Skeptic Ronnie is in that hangout with us. So for him to not defend our work to that point and to turn around and side with someone else, and then when that whole man thing with the finger bullshit happened, for him not to say to Jason, that's over the line. That's not okay. I know Lori's a woman. She's not a man. And you shouldn't do that. That's got nothing to do with maps or models or anything. And whether or not you even like her or not. So yeah, I have a right to have my feelings hurt about that because I felt betrayed, and I still do. And, you know, we're no longer friends on Facebook because I'm sorry, once you stab me in the back, I don't present my back to you again. So if for anybody out there who wants the rest of the story about that, there it is. And I forgive, but I never forget. And I never give you another chance to hurt me or anybody that I know, any friends that I have. So Ronnie's off the team. He's decided to go to a different team. Godspeed. Good luck to you. And I hope you have better luck there. And that's that. Okay. So do you have something, John?
No, that was perfect. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, and I think you felt pretty much the same. And thank you for having my back, so to speak. When that episode was over, I saw an email from you post haste that said those were your feelings, the same that Lawrence and I had. So, you know, good luck wrapping the globe, but that's not something we're interested in pursuing. And we have the right to not be interested in pursuing it. And if somebody wants to have a debate if Jason wants to pursue a debate with Globebusters, you go right ahead, but leave me out of it. Because I've already had enough videos by those guys made about me, and you make me sick and every other kind of thing, personal, about me. So, you know, and about Lawrence, and you know, we're not interested in playing those kind of flat earth games anymore.
I got one more thing to say about Lori. I just had a thought. Yeah, I mean, if anyone's paying attention to what goes on online, I mean, there's videos that are posted by certain people, and then other people decide to take their videos down because somebody's, you know, arguing the point. This happens on many different sides. It could have, you know, you can imagine yourself on either side of the argument. But I'll just say this for the people that are out there, because this is not the only skirmish I've discovered that's going on right now in the flat earth. And there are some very wicked, vile things being said about other people that I do not know, that I don't care what their situation is, but from a standpoint of one person talking of another person, there's some very, very bad stuff going on. And so watch what you say, first of all, and watch who you say it to. And if you've been paying attention along, you know, now for a while, then I think you can pretty much figure out like where the problem arises in a lot of these cases. And so tread lightly.
Thank you. And a lot of these people that are creating the skirmishes and saying the vile things, for anybody to think that those people have a real dog in the fight, that they're not staged or scripted or taken over by alien demons, whatever. You know, yes, in my lifetime, I've had altercations with people or it's kind of verbal skirmishes, or, you know, I just don't really like them and they don't really like me. Okay. And we both know it. And, you know, if you're an adult, you just sort of go, you know, I don't really like you, so I'm really not going to be around you anymore. And probably better just forget I exist. You don't really need to go out and slander my name and talk about me and everything, because most people don't really care. And then let's just part ways, and that's that. But there are people who thrive on drama. I don't happen to be one of them. I try to stay away from drama. I think I told the Taurus the bull story last week. So, but there's people who, if they don't have a certain jacked up level of drama in their lives on a weekly to monthly basis, they're not living, you know, they're not really in the game. And so if they can't find it, they'll make it up. And if they, you know, if they get a reaction, yay, they'll make it bigger. They'll make it more. They'll feed the fire, stoke the flames. Me, I'd rather just, you know, really, it doesn't mean that much to me to mean that much to you. So why don't we just not and say we did and forget about it, okay? But so for someone to go around challenging people to debates and making up, thinking through all kinds of rules and of the debate, and you got to have a camera on you and they got to have a camera on them. I mean, I'm thinking, what the hell? What has this gotten to? You know, I mean, are you kidding me? We're just doing investigation here. That's all. There's no prize. This is not, you're going to get thrown off the island if you don't do it right, right? So we're not in Lost. And if you don't, you know, push the drama button once a week, the place blows up. So we're like the map people. That's what we do. We like investigating maps. We like investigating the surface of the earth and the anomalies of the earth and the way the sun and the moon and the stars work. That's what we like. If we don't like what you present, then we'll just say so. And, you know, here's what's amazing. I did it in the quietest, most undrama way that I could. I went from public to private, and that was the end of it. Okay? That's what I did. And boom, a video that we made we made private, which is our choice. It's my prerogative. Suddenly gets uploaded on the other people's channels. Did I put a copyright strike against anybody? No. I went there and read the comments on it's our video in its entirety. I mean, it's Flat Earth channel on there. It's me and Lawrence and John for the few brief minutes he was on there. We didn't, you know, make a big stink. It was a stink for like a month about Jed Skeptic got his video struck down or taken down from YouTube because Patricia Steer put a copyright strike against him. It was like big drama for a month. Okay. So we were trying to be very undramatic, but no, that wasn't good enough. We need to make a drama out of it by saying, oh, our video was taken down. No, butthead, it's not your video. It's my video. It's my channel, okay? I hit the start broadcast button, all right? So if you had any cojones, you would take the video down, make an apology, and slink off and go work on your map. If you were real, man. Sorry. So, you know, we're not the cause of the drama. You can't even lay that in our lap, the drama. The drama was Jason, and the drama was backed up by Ronnie, and the drama was added to by Globebusters because Jason pulled him back into the deal. I know damn good and well that when you're doing a hangout and whether or not Tim Osmond jumped in on Globebusters hangout and ejected somebody, okay, unless they got a totally different hangout software than I'm operating on, which I don't think is the case, that can't happen. Somebody can't eject somebody else like that. It's the controller of the control panel person who started the hangout, who's in control of the hangout, is the one that ejects somebody. Okay. Now, just to prove my point, Lawrence, go down in the corner where you see our three icons down there. Okay. And I want you, oh boy, if you do this and it works, I'm not going to be able to come back on. But I don't think, okay, don't click anything. Hold your cursor over the little down arrow and drop the menu down or up. Okay, what options do you have there?
Which one is it again, Laurie? Which one?
Okay, go, just in case, John, go to John's little drop down V. It's upside down V on his icon down at the bottom on his picture.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Click on it. Don't click anything. Just click on that V.
Yeah. Profile, ignore, or muted, it says.
Okay. So you don't have the option to eject him from this hangout. Okay.
No.
That proves my point all by itself. Now, John, I want you to do the same thing. I want you to put your cursor over Lawrence's little upside down V. When you hover over his icon, put it on there and click. Don't click anything but the V, and shows a pop-up menu. Do you see the option to eject?
No, I do not. I just see
Okay.
profile, ignore, mute. Yep.
Okay. So my point is nobody can eject anybody from a hangout but the creator of the hangout. Okay? Because they're the ones with the control panel. So Jason was ejected from Globebusters hangout and he could not come back on. Everybody else was so-called went away and then they came back in, but Jason was unable to. Nobody's got that ability to do that except the creator of the hangout. can eject somebody, and once ejected, they can never come back. And I'm going to tell you a little secret that I never told Lawrence all this time. When we first started doing Hangouts, he was having sound problems so bad, and I kept trying to tell him, Lawrence, you need to click yourself out and come back in, okay? And he did it, you know, over and over and over again. And he was still having sound problems. So I hovered over that icon to see if I could help. And I hit the eject button. Do you remember it, Lawrence? You couldn't come back in. No matter what you did, you couldn't come back in.
Yeah.
And we had to start a whole new hangover. I had to go create one and come back, and we had to start over. Until much later, I had no idea I did that, and that was the cause. Okay? So I know what I'm talking about here. And Globebusters, somebody, whoever, Bob or Jaron or whoever created that hangout, is the only person who could have ejected Jason from that hangout. So when he was unable to come back on, that's when I heard all of this hoopla from Ronnie. You need to meet Jason. You need to have him on, you know, and so on. And we had a hangout privately before and talked about simulation theory and so on, but it wasn't for very long. And if I remember correctly, he showed Lawrence Cammy's map, right, Lawrence? He showed it to you on that lid, and you showed him why it wasn't going to work. And we should have never had to go through this second exercise with the map after that, because he already knew that both Lawrence and I were not going to get behind that map. So why he felt the need to put it on our show at all, and why Ronnie kept promoting it, is beyond me. So sorry to belabor a point, but I just want to put that down for posterity, so that 5 years ago, or 5 years from now, when none of this matters, I still won't be a man. Lawrence still won't be wearing women's clothing. And John, what will you still not be doing? Okay, so unless anybody's got anything else, I think that is that's a wrap. Lawrence,
it might only be interesting to the nerds, but I look out for things that are unusual, and I'm trying to figure out why that is. So, you know, the Bering Strait. Let's go to the Bering Strait.
Lawrence is not done. Okay.
Let's do it. We can go in a minute if you want, but let's go to the Bering Strait. Okay, so this is the Bering Strait, and what we're looking for here is the 180 degrees line, the you know, the one that goes right through the Bering Strait on the, you know,
International date line.
The prime meridian. So if you look on the bottom line there,
no, don't say that, Lawrence. Don't say that. The prime meridian is 0.
Well,
it's the international date line.
All right, the international date line. Okay, so
okay,
but I think that leads to the same line, doesn't it? So if you look at this here at the bottom, we've got 179.59. So you want to try and get the 180 line.
Wait, hold on. Where are you? You're not even presented here. Okay. Where are you pointing at?
Am I presented? This is this little island in the Bering Strait. So okay. I was trying to find the exact 180 degrees, but as you move the cursor across, at the bottom, you've got the longitude and latitude flashing up. So I've got it here on 179.53, 179.53, 52. It won't 179.56, 58, 59, and then it goes back to 58. So there's a stretch of land there, you know, a fraction of a degree, and it isn't there. You can't actually go to that line of longitude. So that, for some reason, that bit's missing. And if you go to the poles, you cannot get to the exact 90 degrees. You can get up to 89.9 6 or something like that. You can't go up to 90 degrees. And I was just wondering why that is and whether you've got any thoughts as to why those particular points are not viewable.
Sorry. There was a lag. This island is the one that is between Alaska and Russia, right?
That's the way. Here we are.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Okay. And that is the 55-mile strip. Oh, no,
yeah,
that's a different island. Okay. All right.
Yeah, but
there's a little island
the
right there in between.
Yeah, no, it's because I've got this orientated. I've got the north there. Let's put the north back around to the way it is, the way it should be. There we go. Where's the bearing straight?
But that's, yeah.
There you got it now.
Okay,
so I want to zoom in there.
Zoom in, please.
I want to zoom in there to the 180. Yeah, there's Diomede Iden, big Diomed, and there's a little Diomed.
Right.
And I want to get to 180. You can't get to 180. You can only go to 179.
Well, that's the island that is the 55-mile stretch between Russia and Alaska. But
the 180 isn't actually in that gap. It's over to the left here. Look, 180 is over here.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't go to the 180.
But it doesn't show that on the map. I mean, I don't understand why it's popping up way over there, because on every map I've ever seen, it goes right down through that gap.
Yeah, but it doesn't. The 180 line actually doesn't go through that gap. It goes a bit to the left up on the Russian side.
So the international date line is through the island, but it is not following.
They've diverted it. If you go to the gap there, that's 168.
Okay, I got you. Now I understand where you're going there. Okay, because they show. They show the international date line going between the two. We're having a bad lag talking over each other, Lawrence. Sorry.
Yeah. But my point is, why can't we see the 180? There's no place at 180. And there's no place
because it doesn't exist, Lawrence. That's why.
Well, it should do, shouldn't it?
That's where the map comes together.
Yeah, but there should be
that's Pac-Man land. There's a little Pac-Man land in between there.
Yeah, but they don't show it, do they?
Of course they're not going to show it. What do you think? They're going to have the show Pac-Man Castle and where he hangs out when he's sleeping?
When you zoom into these places here, they're not real. You know, you cannot go zoom in. If I tried to zoom into that big Diomede Island.
Well, there's people that live on the small one, I think, but not the big one.
Well, you try and zoom in and have a look at it. You can't. There's nothing.
I've done it before. Maybe, I don't know why you can't, but I've done it before. I've zoomed right in.
Well, there's these two islands. Happened there, the Russian government.
Yeah, there you go. You're in.
Ground level. I think that's just an artistic impression. You get into ground level.
There's a building on the small one. There's some buildings on the small one. Now that's could easily be. Yeah, that's not.
Does that look real to you? That just looks like it.
No, that's CGI.
It just says image Landsat.
Yeah,
Copernicus.
Yeah, they just
Copernicus.
You're basically just looking at a flat image that's mapped onto the geography. Mm-hmm. So that's so you're seeing it blurred, but if you were looking at it away, looking straight at it, you see, like what we see. God bless all the Google monkeys that have to stitch all these satellite images together, because I don't know how they do it. I mean, that's a lot of work, and there's so many different layers of altitude where the images are different. It's amazing that they have a pretty much perfect globe as it is. That's a lot of data and visual stuff to stitch together. I don't know how many people they have working.
Look at that block right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that square right there. So
you're getting perfectly straight lines on these things. So I know that other group was talking about mapping out all these places where Google are hiding for some reason what's on the ground there. But it'd be interesting to actually map out the entire world and see which places you can actually see real images and those where they've had to put something false there and work out what sort of percentage of the land is. Yeah,
Greenland.
Greenland.
Well, they're changing the size of Greenland every time I look at a map. It seems like, talk about, Mandela effect. In my mind, I've seen everything from this gargantuan, giant Greenland that's as big as Africa practically, to this little 1/16th the size, the version of Africa, and everything in between. So it depends, I think, on whether they're trying to add pack ice to the Arctic Circle or something, and they're just expanding Greenland up in there. But Greenland's not supposed to go all the way to the Arctic Circle.
What do you think they're hiding then? Do you think they're hiding that there's nothing there, or they're hiding something that is there that they don't want you to see?
Something they can't stitch together and show us. They just can't stitch it together. Yeah.
So do you think it's filler?
Imagery and not real?
Yeah. It's like if somebody gave you a painting that had been chopped into lots of little pieces, but a few were missing, you'd have some gaps, wouldn't you? So you'd just paint in the gaps and make something up. Maybe that's what they've done with Google, because there's no reason why they can't photograph the entire Earth and you can see the ground as it really is everywhere. But the reality is you can't. And they've got some reason for hiding it.
Every time they give you the NASA official Earth photo every few years or a year or something, for crying out loud, it's always a perfect sphere, for one thing, but yet it's an oblate spheroid. Okay. Second thing is the size of the continents to a scale to the size of the area of the Earth is off dramatically and different every time. Okay, like one time India is like, it's this big, and then the next time, America's blows up the whole side of the face, and there's no way Africa it would go way under the bottom, and what happened to Antarctica? So they just make shit up all the time and change the shit. They just stir it around and make more shit, and then people think that we're supposed to believe that we live on a spinning a stationary pizza pan, and since some people have figured out that we don't, because they had an aha moment where they realized something about that whole ice wall thing's not working for me. I still, to this day, it can go on a group on Facebook that's not my own and see somebody talking about getting blown out of the water if you go to Antarctica. And I'm like, oh my God, really, people? How long are we gonna perpetuate this myth? This is as stupid as the fingered length myth. Okay. Who's been blown out of the water? And all started with that bullshit about the Jarl Andhoy, and that there was some foul play that happened with him and his shipmates down near Antarctica. But to say that they were murdered, killed, and blown out of the water, come on. And when else has that happened? Okay. So 78,000 miles of coastline. Do you know how many ships and Navy SEALs that would take to protect 78,000 miles of coastline? And yet, that myth is perpetuated. So somebody sent me an inbox message today and said, oh, come on over to this thread on this flat earth group and jump in and help me with, talking about something. I don't even remember what it was now. And I said, no, I'm sorry, I don't do that anymore. Because what happens is I show up and I start throwing down, my version, which is not the common man flat earth version. And then all the people on the thing jump on me personally instead of the information that I'm putting there. Okay. So I actually am detrimental to helping anybody defend themselves in another flat earth group, because I'm always going to go, no, I'm sorry, that is not a real map of Earth. And they'll like, who died and made you the debunking queen? So heavy sigh. And so that's that. All right. So what's our homework, Lawrence?
What is the homework? I don't know, Laurie. What is it? I thought you was working on the modeler. Is that still a sort of what you're still waiting for some inspiration?
You couldn't miss another show without jabbing me in the ribs with the model.
Well, I'd still like to see it, sometime next year, maybe.
Okay. It's still going to happen. I just haven't been inspired yet, and I'm an artist. I have to be inspired.
What's John going to simulate for us next? Maybe we can get some 3D possibilities with this. What's it? With,
do you even have that kind of capability, John?
Yeah, I have. I have Rhino. The only issue I have is it's basically just going to be a flat image that you can just fly over and set the light source of the sun and the moon, whatever. So it would be if anything, it would be something that you can like see it from above, and then like, get down closer so you're looking at it edge on. And
yeah, I don't know how much help that's actually going to be.
Yeah, I mean, a three-dimensional map. I mean, a globe is three-dimensional, but it's just a ball. A flat map.
I mean, otherwise, you've really already done it with the diamond map, with the sun and moon going across, and there's really no way to model Pac-Man, is there?
Well, you know what? I honestly would not want to do it and we can have a conversation. I know Lawrence, you've mentioned the numbers already, but if those are the numbers that are set in stone for the height of the sun, can we agree on some sort of numbers for the levels of the moon? Because I know it at least goes up and down. If we don't touch the moon, we can at least do the sun to start.
Yeah, well, that's a good point, John. That should be some homework for me. I'll try and establish the height of the moon, looking at moon calc or something like that, and see whether that's going to give the same height as the sun.
I've never looked at anything that talks about the height of the moon. Obviously there are many people, prattling on about the sun, but the moon is something I haven't even searched for. So it's something you do a search, I can do a search too. And
the strange thing about the moon is the variations in size. Sometimes it looks tiny, and sometimes, I saw it a few months back, and I looked at it twice. I thought, my God, look how big it is.
I know.
It was like maybe 3 times bigger than what it normally is, and I'm thinking, well, that's freaky. And it was. Well,
it
looks so real, and then you'll see this little faint dot in the daytime where you can only see part of it, and you're saying that the moon phases are maybe caused by some kind of maybe a bit more sophisticated, but some kind of shuttering system inside the moon that blocks out certain parts of it. But that's something that nobody's established what's causing that now, because I'm pretty sure it's not some, Yahoo or K2 or Ramu, whatever these, supposedly.
No, the moon is self everything, self-illuminating, self-phasing, all that stuff, as far as I'm concerned. So
I like it. Self-phasing. I like it.
We haven't tested for ourselves whether the moon gives off cold light. Some people have done the experiments and said it does, and some people says it doesn't. So that may be something I might do myself I think it's inexpensive to do.
Well, yeah, I think everybody should do almost all of these kinds of things themselves, because just listening to five, you know, even if you heard five people saying it, you know, if I walked into a room and five people in the room said, "Don't open that door, there's an alligator in there," okay, I would go, why would they lie to me? I mean, you know, like, as if I did open the door and the alligator got out, it could like get me and get everybody else. And so my mind starts doing that. Is there a reason why they would reverse psychology me and want me to open the door by five of them saying, "Don't open the door because there's an alligator in there"? So that's how my mind works. And I would have to test it for myself. See, right now, I don't really care.
You've got alligators over there, though, haven't you, Laurie? There are alligators in your.
Yeah, we actually do have alligators over here.
When I was over there, you know, 15 years ago,
a couple weeks ago,
there was somebody who had an alligator who'd rented a house and with a pool, and there was an alligator in the pool.
Yeah, well, just a couple weeks ago, somebody posted online a video of their black lab. Somebody's black lab was swimming in a creek bayou. Okay, they have these little inlets, you know, where everybody parks their expensive boat behind their expensive house, and they're man-made. Okay, there's these canals, and somebody's black lab, which we all know they love, was swimming in that water, and there's usually kind of a seawall-ish type thing to get in and out of there. And somebody posted a video of it by with the tail going like that, with the black lab firmly in its mouth, drowned. So it's not a lot of stray dogs around here, or stray cats, because if they get near the water, they can definitely end up being alligator dinner.
Alligator bait.
Yeah.
You live.
Yeah. Well,
you wouldn't want to go out on any midnight hikes in your neck of the woods. You don't.
Well, I mean, I have a creek out behind my house. Okay.
You've probably got bloody grizzly bears and other stuff around there, and coyotes.
There's pumas or whatever, mountain lions, kind of whatever they call them. The same kind of cat has a lot of different names, but depending on where it is in the country. But yeah, I have a creek right out behind my house, and you know, there's turtles and frogs and ducks and whatever, and it's a runoff creek for when the storm floods, and it goes into Philippi Creek that goes out into the bay. And it wouldn't surprise me if I walked out there one day and there wasn't a freaking alligator up in there. So I keep my eyes open. And yeah, I definitely got critters. As a matter of fact, every year there's a big snapping turtle who makes his way from one creek to the other creek to mate. And he has to walk across the road and walk across my property to get down to the creek. And I know how to pick up snapping turtles. Well, it's not a smart thing to do, but I have done it. And so the snapping turtle was making his way across the road, and I was worried that he was going to get ran over. So I went and put my heavy gloves on, and I picked him up and I put him in the creek. And while I was carrying him, you know, like this, that I Believe I Can Fly music was playing in my head. I thought about that snapping turtle hooking up with his girlfriend later on, going, "You'll never believe, God picked me up and carried me across the street and flew me to the creek and dropped me in. It was amazing." And so anyway, all right, that's it. We're done. Thank you, everybody in chat. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Jason Campbell, for moderating chat. Shout out to you. Jason was one of our winners for our contest, and he got almost all the answers right. He got the most answers right. So we never actually announced the winner. And it was Jason, because I don't know anyone who's watched every minute of every show we've ever done. So big shout out to Jason. And so good night, everybody. And we'll Merry Christmas to those who celebrate it. And happy day for anyone who doesn't celebrate it. And we'll see you next time. Good night, Lawrence. Good night, John.
Good night. Good night, everybody.